All right, guys, welcome back to another episode. This version will be a sick edition because apparently I'm very, very delicate when it comes to any viruses, whatever the hell is going on out there. But this was a little bit delayed again, only because yes, I got sick once again. It's not COVID, thank God. I believe it was like a sinus infection, whatever it is. But if I do sound congested, I do apologize. But I'm slowly getting better. Yesterday, I sounded horrible. Even this morning, I sounded horrible. And I was like, am I even going to be able to do a podcast episode? I literally have 3 episodes lined up for y'all. And this one, of course, you're probably reading the title and it's like, ma'am, we're overdue. And but I'm just like, hey, better late than never. So I have this episode cut lined up for y'all. And then we're also gonna be diving into, well, not on this episode, but like on the next episode, I really do want to talk about the Fast X video. Also, excuse my Frenchie Cosmo. I finally posted her on social media, so if y'all want to take a look at what she looks like, definitely go check it out. But you're gonna be hearing her being weird and embarrassing me, of course, on my very own podcast. But anywho, on the next episode that I will want to record for sure, it will be the one with Fast X. And then the following episode is going to be the most up to date one where we're going to be talking about the Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Sweet Jesus, that movie right now, like I got to finally watch it. Well, I mean, I watched it over the weekend because of TikTok, and I'm going to talk to you guys about that story later. But yeah, I saw like half of the movie on TikTok and I was like, well, now I gotta go watch it. And then I went to go watch it this past Tuesday. So I'm like, I finally jotted down all my notes. So for sure, like it's set to go. I just gotta, sit down and record it. So I may do it today, but I highly doubt it's gonna go live today as well. I have I have 2 more episodes to record, and usually they take a while to record, as you can see. So stay tuned for those episodes if you guys are very interested in those movies and see what I have to say. Definitely stay tuned. It's not gonna take a while. It's not gonna take like a week or so. I'm gonna be surprised if I manage to record them all like in the spare of like in a day, like I used to do when I used to record my podcast where I will upload daily. I really want to go back to that where I recorded daily and there's always like something to talk about. So hopefully we'll get back into that routine. But first, let's go ahead and talk about, if you already read the title, like I mentioned, we're going to be talking about Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. And this is something I've been wanting to talk about since the movie got released, literally over a month ago. And like I said, better late than never. But before I get into that, I want to say thank you to everybody. And I said this on my last episode, but I'm saying it again. We just hit 800 plays, and I know this podcast has been around for almost 2 years. I want to say it's already 2 years, and of course, it doesn't feel like it's been 2 years only because I haven't been recording that much when I've been taking those little long breaks. But for it to like go ahead and hit 800, I'm like, that's pretty surreal. So thank you so much, you guys, for those that are still listening to the podcast. I know for sure I try my best to upload some of these things on YouTube as well, because there's some people that listen to it on YouTube. But I'm getting the hang of it. I'm slowly getting there now. So there we go. But and then like how I mentioned about Cosmo the Frenchie, if you guys are not following me on social media, make sure to follow me on Instagram and on Twitter at It's Lielers. It's Lielers all together. And then if you guys have TikTok, follow me at Lielers. Again, I finally posted Cosmo on there so people can see what she looks like. She's getting bigger, and I'm not ready for her to leave the puppy stage, even though yes, it is kind of annoying that you will hear her and she'll be like whining and interrupting me, but that's how puppies are. But I'm just not ready for her to get bigger, and she is getting bigger, and I'm just like, why stay tiny forever? But dogs gotta grow up. But anywho, so let's go ahead and get started into this. So like the thing about these movie reviews, you guys already probably are used to me giving you guys the spoiler free version and the spoiler version, which that's what we're planning to do every time I do a movie review. So If you guys have not watched it, and believe me, there are some people that still have not watched the movie, because I got to rewatch the movie, and that's the main reason why I'm doing this episode, is that I finally got to rewatch the movie. I want to say it was Saturday. I want to say it was Saturday. My brother and my sister-in-law, they haven't seen it. And so I'm just like, when we went to the movie theaters, it was like packed to where people are still watching this movie, and I'm like, oh my god, there's no way these people are rewatching it, because I'm pretty sure I was the only one like freaking reciting some of the lines that were said in this movie. I'm like, there's no way in hell people are still not watching it. Well, I mean, might as well do the freaking episode, because like I said, I've seen them. People are still have not seen this movie. But like I said, it's been out for a month already. It still has a hype, but I'm surprised people are still trying to tune in. So anywho, please, for the love of God, ignore my Frenchie. She is just crazy right now. But anywho, I know this movie. We were supposed to. I don't think we were supposed to get it last year, and I want to say it wasn't even the blame for the pandemic. For those that do not know, back in 2018, Disney and Marvel, obviously, they fired the director James Gunn, for some stuff that he said. He posted on Twitter, and you know how cancel culture is. They resurfaced that post. I really don't remember what was it that he said. But it was very, very negative that led to Disney firing James Gunn. So this movie has been delayed for so long. And the reason why they weren't going to make this movie happen was because the actors as well did form a kind of like a strike, like exclude, like, primarily, like I remember Dave Batista, he also mentioned that there's no way in hell he's gonna make the movie if James Gunn isn't there. And I'm really, really grateful. Like, I mean, people change. At the end of the day, people change. And, like James Gunn has been making some of like the craziest movies that you wouldn't even imagine, that it's so good. When we got the first Guardians, it was funny. Then Volume 2 came out and it topped the first one. Volume 3 came out and I'm just like, holy shit, this cannot get any better. Like, oh my god. And then of course, if you guys haven't been following his career, he's also been managing DC. So we also had the Suicide Squad reboot, which literally was so much better than the one that we have from the David Ayer, I think that was his last name. His version, because it was kind of wacky. But the James Gunn kind of like rebooted that, and it made it like wow, like I could watch that so many times because it was that good. And then we had Peacemaker as well. Like, I don't know what it is with James Gunn and his movies, but they're really funny. They're hilarious, and it's so entertaining. Same thing with Volume 3. Volume 3 was just like, it's at its peak already. And I'm like, you would suspect that. No, like, usually movies are at their peaks after like, once they first start, or like, not even the sequel. But this is the third movie, and it's already like, this cannot get any better. So, of course, I think most of us, like the fans, we all have a feeling that this might be James Gunn's last movie with Disney and Marvel, because ever since they fired him in 2018, he had to find a backup plan at this point, and that literally turned into where he turned to the competition. And now, for those that do not know, he is I think it was like a creative director or something like that. I want to say, I will mention this later on because I kind of wrote it down, but I cannot find it. But he is in charge of DC now. And, obviously, for those that don't know, DC is the competitor of Marvel. Almost everything that you see here in corporate America has a competition. Like you have Walgreens and CVS, and you have McDonald's and maybe Burger King, but it doesn't even make any sense. You have Chick-fil-A competing with almost everybody because everybody's trying to have the best chicken sandwich. Which, for those that do not remember, where Popeyes and Chick-fil-A were going, neck to neck to see who had the best chicken sandwich. But yeah, everybody has a competition, and Marvel's competition is DC. And obviously, DC has a history of really bad movies. And now that James Gunn is there, it's like, oh, well, he's gonna try to change that. And so far, with, again, with the Suicide Squad and Peacemaker, there's some hope, so we will see. But again, like how I mentioned, I'm gonna go ahead and start with the spoiler free version and then make my way into the spoiler version. And once I get to the spoiler version, we will have a warning, so for those that people still have not seen it, can just go ahead and stop playing. And then for those that have seen it and want to get into the movie deeper or further in, it's more than welcome to go ahead and listen in. So usually whenever I do the spoiler-free version, I give out the Rotten Tomato scores, the audience scores, and then once I'm about to be done and head to the spoiler version, I give out my opinion of which one I agree. So as I did, obviously the Rotten Tomato score and the audience score usually changes over time. As of today, as of today, we have Rotten Tomato score of 82% and the audience score at 94. And I'm trying to understand, why is it 82% on the Rotten Tomato score? It makes no sense. But like how I mentioned, Volume 3 by far is my favorite Guardians movie. It's just like Thor all over again. And I mean like Thor Ragnarok. Because Love and Thunder, I don't think I review it. I don't even remember if I reviewed the movie. I love Thor Love and Thunder, but it wasn't as like like Ragnarok. Ragnarok was very hilarious. I really love that movie. I think I watched that so many times compared to Dark World and then the original Thor. Also, excuse my Frenchie. She's just weird. Yeah, I'm gonna say that a lot because you hear her in the background and I'm like, ma'am, are rude. But yes, I love Volume 3. And I will say this, and I'm putting this on the spoiler free part. If you guys have not seen it, if it's like a warning in a way. If you love animals, this movie may not be for you. Like, I cried so much in this movie, more than Avatar 2 and Titanic combined. Like, it has animal cruelty, and even PETA said that this movie was like they loved it because they spread that awareness in there. Like, it's accurate, so that way people can feel like, hey, it's it's bad to treat animals like that, and then next thing you know, obviously in the Guardians, like, they do something about it, and PETA loved that. So like, for me, like, I love animals, and yeah, I just couldn't help myself, not to cry. And there were some scenes in there that was just like a tad bit disturbing. Like, my niece, she's I want to say she's 13 already, and no, she's 12. She's 12, I think. Yeah, she's 12. She loves animals. She has a dog and everything. And she even told me herself, like, she couldn't watch it because it was too much for her. But, I mean, she watched it and got over it. But, yeah, even herself, like a 12-year-old telling you that, imagine if there were kids like that. So, if you have kids and they love animals, may not be it for you. But, anywho. I will say this too, because the other question would be like, do I need to watch all of the Guardians? Do I need to watch all the Marvel movies to understand this? I will say this, you might just want to at least watch Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, maybe Avengers Endgame, Infinity War 2, and for sure the holiday special to understand what is going on in Volume 3. And for sure the holiday special, because there is some parts in the movie in Volume 3 where you're probably going to be like caught by surprise. But because you didn't know, but they kind of cover that on the holiday special. So it's like better for sure watch that. And it's on Disney Plus. And it's only like, I want to say it's like not even an hour. It's like a really small short, and I love it. So definitely watch those just in case if you guys want to have a better understanding for it. But as many of you guys already know, this is basically the first movie that finally drops the F bomb in Disney throughout the whole Disney franchise and Marvel itself. Like, and it is said, it is known apparently that every actor in the Marvel franchise has tried to sneak in the F bomb or any other kind of curse words, but luckily for James Gunn, he took the trophy with Chris Pratt. And, I'm not going to say how he did it. The only reason why I'm putting this on the spoiler free version is because, excuse me, Chris Pratt was doing an interview. I want to say it was Jimmy Fallon or Jimmy Kimmel. I can't remember, but he, publicly says that he was the one that took the honor, the great honor of throwing the first F bomb. So it's like he's proud of it. I swear to God, my friend, she is up to something, and if you're gonna hear her whine, is because she's purposely trying to make me not finish this episode. But we're gonna prevail. We're gonna prevail. But anyways, and then speaking of Cosmo, we're gonna go ahead and talk about her really quick. The thing that I loved about this movie so much is because of, Cosmo the space dog. And I've said this in my last episode, but I want to go into more details here. So if we want to talk about Cosmo, like, my Frenchie, she's a female. And, for when people hear Cosmo the space dogs, they will think of the comics where Cosmo is a boy. So for those that do not know, James Gunn actually changed the gender of Cosmo for this movie to honor Laika, who is also a female dog, that in real life she was sent to space by the Soviets in 1957. And there were no plans to bring her back, and that it actually inspired the creation of Cosmo the Space Dog in the comics by Dan Abner and Andy Lannon. So, because he changed this, you actually you get that feeling thinking that maybe, like, if the Guardians existed, or there is life out. I know what you did. I'm sorry, this girl is just, I know what you did, and I'm not gonna fall for it. We're gonna prevail. But that's why I told you, you're gonna hear her whine because of that. But anywho, when you watch this movie, you start getting that sense that, if in real life there was life outside in space, some of us will like to think that Laika, after that, because I know dogs don't usually last that long. But, like, if, Laika was sent to space and she passed away, sometimes we probably think that maybe something extraterrestrial probably got her and brought her back to life. And she did had a long life of, happiness and whatnot. We like to believe that. But that is the sad truth of what happened in the history books for us. So it's great that James Gunn actually changed the gender. And, like me, I fell in love with the character. The way how, like, this character was shown in the movie, like, there were some hilarious scenes, but, you get to see how a dog technically is if they were to be able to speak. And so when I was watching this movie, like, it was right before I got my baby Cosmo. Um so, like, when I got her, I already finished watching the movie. So when I just, cuz originally I was going to name my dog Paquita. Like, with it sounds like I'm saying Paquita, like little cow, but I'm not. It's with the P. And it was really tough naming a dog, like, especially a female dog, because I had names prepared for boy dogs, and I always wanted more boy dogs. But I'm like, for some reason, I'm like, you know what, I need to have a female dog now. It's been a while. So when I got to watch the movie, and then I got to see how Cosmo is in the movie, I was like, you know what, let's change the name. We're changing the name to Cosmo. And, I don't want to hear shit from people saying, but Cosmo's a boy, Cosmo's a boy. I'm like, if I could name my dog Laika, I would, but I'm not Russian, so I'm like, we're gonna go ahead and do Cosmo. And it's nice. I like her. I mean, she's starting to understand her name, but she's just weird. Right now she's playing with a toy, so hopefully that keeps her quiet. But aside from Cosmo, I do want to mention another character that we do get to see in this movie. And I wanted to talk about here on the spoiler free version because I feel like this character was so not used correctly. But if you guys remember the end credit of volume 2, we have Adam Warlock. So if you guys have not seen volume 2, where the hell have y'all been? But I feel like, in my opinion, this character should have been an Endgame because Adam is the bearer of the Soul Stone. I love Adam in this movie. He's another character that's like you get to see a lot of growth in just a span of, I want to say this movie was long. It was 3 hours. So yeah, prepare yourself. It was almost 3 hours. But Adam is played by the actor named Will Poulter. And you guys may have seen him in The Chronicles of Narnia, Midsummer, and The Maze Runners. Like, that's another character that I love to see. And, literally, I saw so many memes of him, especially the one where he's flying in space. I'm not going to say what specifically what he's doing because that spoils the movie. But, like, he gave me, like, the way how Adam was portrayed, I was like, he's giving me Homelander vibes from The Boys. If you guys have not seen the show. Yes, I finally watched The Boys. Oh my god, like that's another story. but but yeah, so Adam Warlock, I feel like we should have seen him in Endgame. That's something that could have been interesting. But anywho, other characters in this movie were also, if you guys have seen, like, some of the DC movies from James Gunn, you actually see some of these actors in this movie. Like, for example, James Gunn's wife is in here. Jennifer Holland, she was in Peacemaker. She's that one agent that you think Peacemaker hits on, whatever. And then we have Daniela Melcher, who plays Ratcatcher. Or wait, I'm sorry, Ratcatcher 2. Because the first one is, her dad. And then we also have Nathan Fillion, who is the dislocated, or TDK? Yeah, TDK, which stands for the dislocated kid. And they're all from Suicide Squad. And then we have, and I cannot pronounce his name. I swear to God, if I mispronounce his name, I'm butchering it. Chukuro Awuji. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Oh my god. But he plays the High Evolutionary. And that character, literally at this point I would say step aside Angela Bassett, because he literally just, like, he killed it with his character. Like, if you think Thanos, and then, if you guys have seen Ant-Man or, Loki, the first season, if you think Kang and Thanos were the worst villains, holy like, the High Evolutionary just made them look weak, because sweet Jesus, this guy, like, he's like the worst, like, not the worst villain, but I'm just saying he's like the villain of all villains. Like, I've seen so many people being bad and all of that. Nah, this one takes the cake. And I seriously think you will hate this guy. Not the actor, just the High Evolutionary itself. But like I said, go watch the movie if you guys have not. But besides that, I want to say we see a lot of growth when it comes to Rocket, obviously, because this is Rocket's story. But Bradley Cooper, holy crap, I've seen him in A Star Is Born, I've seen him in other movies, but, like, here he takes the cake as well, because we see his voice acting to the whole next level. Like, and then, like, again, if you think you've seen everything with Rocket, you are mistaken. Because now we understand how he is. Like, the way how he is in the first Guardians and how he is in the second. We start to actually see what led him to become that personality of what he is. And it's really sad, Again, you guys are not ready for it. It may be disturbing, like I said. But other than that, there was a lot of comedy scenes in there that kind of relieved the tension of the other scenes, which kept me sane. And I feel like, there was a little joke that I saw where we literally passed almost 3 hours of trauma only to end the movie with a happy scene, like, I guess. But yeah, this movie is like a roller coaster. It's like crying and, oh, it's time to laugh, ha ha. But you're like internally crying still because of you're trying to wrap your head of things that happen in this movie. So be prepared. I would suggest definitely bring some Kleenex if you're an emotional wreck like me. But overall, after watching this movie, I know for sure I definitely don't want to rate what either the audience or the Rotten Tomatoes have said. I give my personal rating of 100%. I will say 20 out of 10 of this rating in my book. And if I could, again, I will rewatch the intro. That intro, I swear to God, I'm going to talk about it in the spoiler version. But for some reason, that intro is just wow. I loved it. And like, I want to say I've seen so many intros in Marvel where I just said, no, I love this. Like, compared to, like, for example, Black Widow's, the Black Widow movie. I know her intro was a little bit like, okay, this is what's interesting. But do I want to rewatch it again? No, because, I've seen better intros, but this one, no, this one also takes the cake. But yes, I will go ahead and wrap up the spoiler free version now. And since we usually don't do any sponsors or anything like that, I don't think we have sponsors anymore for that. But I'm not saying that it's in a good way, meaning that I just get paid for the plays now. So I'm like, hey, I don't have to say, oh, and now a word from our sponsors. No, we're going to go ahead and go straight into the spoiler version. So I'm going to go ahead and give you guys the time to go ahead and stop this. Go watch the movie and then come back and hear what else I got to say. So I am giving you guys the spoiler warning countdown in 3, 2, 1. Okay, so for those that have seen the movie, I left off on the introduction. And oh my God, I swear, the fact that they played the acoustic version of Radiohead's Creep, it gave me chills. Like, literal chills. Because I love the song. I love how, we get to hear, like, the alternative version, of course. And, and it's funny, too, because, like, at that age, I don't know, I could talk about that song for a while. But, like, let me just say this. At that age, usually men were the ones where, will be feeling insecure and like feeling that, no matter what they do, the woman will always not see through them but around them. We're in that age now. Like, now people can relate to Creep, but like in women, where like we are the ones that are insecure now thanks to fucking men. And like, if we could reverse that song in a female's perspective, sweet Jesus. But anywho, here it makes so much sense of why they would play this song, because sometimes, some people think that Rocket is the weirdo. He is the one that's not normal because, again, he's a talking raccoon, and he's not normal the way how he grew up compared to other people. But it's like, I think that goes along with everybody, and it doesn't mean just in the Marvel universe, but with us as well. Not everybody had a normal childhood, and that's why they can relate into the song Creep. But I really loved it. I think the acoustic version really blended in well with that. And again, if I could rewatch it, I will rewatch it so many times before I even get to watch the whole entire movie, because I wasn't expecting what I was going to expect in that movie. But let's see. Let's go ahead and talk about that. Throughout the movie, there were so many close calls because everybody did assume that Drax was going to die. Did anybody else literally thought that? I remember before the movie was going to be released, a lot of people were throwing their theories. And yes, for some reason, because Batista did say that he didn't want Drax to be his legacy, and he did say that Volume 3 was going to be his last movie, everybody assumed the worst. But I'm so glad that James Gunn said, you know what? We're not going to do the traditional, apparently, the traditional Marvel exit. We're going to give you a really good exit. And Drax does not die. And I swear to God, I thought literally Peter Quill was going to die. And but no, like nobody died in this. Well, I mean, besides the high evolutionary, but like everybody that we thought, like, that we didn't want to get killed off didn't get killed off, which is fucking great. I feel like we went through so much trauma with these movies because we see our favorite characters get killed off, and we're assuming the worst and this and that. But no, like fucking James Gunn gave us technically the most sanest movie, but not really, because of course I will go ahead and talk about, well, we'll talk about Lila, Teefs, and Floor in a bit, but like aside from our guardians, I'm surprised. Yeah, nobody got killed. Thank God. But anywho, I wanted to talk about obviously Cosmo versus Kraglin. That whole fucking joke that was extended throughout the movie is again one of the main reasons why I fell in love with Cosmo. Like the fact that Kraglin decided to say that Cosmo was a bad dog, and poor Cosmo was over there trying to, convince him to change his mind, is probably the most funniest thing I've seen, because she keeps telling him to take it back, that he doesn't mean it, this and that. I think my favorite part of them all was when they were playing poker. And then, like, again, Cosmo mentions the whole thing with the Soviets. It's like, but never once they called me bad dog. And then everybody is like, oh, and then freaking Howard the dog is like, would you just let it go? And then the guy from the first Guardians, the one that had the jewelry thingy majobber, he was telling Kraglin, just please, take it back. And then Kraglin's like, I'm not gonna take it back if she's indeed a bad dog. And then Cosmo's like, oh, it never stops hurting. I fucking love that. I fucking love the way how they, did that whole scene. Like, again, if I could rewatch that, I would. And then eventually Kraglin saying that she was a good dog after she helped him, kill off that big ass eagle looking creature, whatever the hell High Evolutionary did. I swear to God, some of his creations were like kind of disturbing, if you ask me. But I'm really, really happy that they did that. And like, if they could make a fucking series out of it, give that to me. I'm pretty sure me and my Frenchie will love to keep watching that. Which, by the way, she has officially knocked out. So you will hear nothing but peace and quiet until the rest of this podcast. Yay. But anywho, I wanted to talk about Adam Warlock and Aisha. I never thought that they would be working with the High Evolutionary. But then again, if you think about it, it's not expected, because the fact is that Homeboy's over there. Homeboy literally created the Sovereign. And it would make sense, since he's always trying to perfect things. And the Sovereign are like, the way how they see each other is like, they're perfect. Nothing's wrong with them. They're made pure of gold and whatnot. And I'm just over here like, I guess, So I was like, whenever I did find out that they were working for him, I'm over here like, damn, so that explains why Adam Warlock was over there trying to get with Rocket. But if you think about it, kind of, I guess I can understand why the Rotten Tomatoes was probably a little bit low. Only because, like, right when Adam Warlock was trying to take Rocket, and then, the Guardians was over there fighting Adam, and Adam ended up running back to Aisha. And then Aisha and Adam were on their way back to get Rocket. The plans really did shifted, and then they lost a priority after that. But I guess, obviously whenever Aisha got killed off, Adam was like, well, I'm gonna go ahead and avenge, my mother, who got killed off, and, forget about Rocket. But yeah, like, I didn't get to see that much of a priority after the first part, so maybe that's why. Who knows? But yeah, anywho, moving along. I seriously, like, I also wanted, like, once I talk about that scene, I'm like, wait, let's talk about Drax. I swear, it's so sad that Batista said that he doesn't want Drax to be his legacy, but come on, man. How can you say no to that? That shit was hilarious. Like for me, the joke started when Peter Quill's talking about how Rocket is his best friend, and then fucking Drax is like second best friend, and I'm like, please stop, sir. Like, don't do this to me. And he does that twice. Like, I can't with him. And then the second part, I freaking started dying was when he was laying on the couch. Because I'm like, homeboy doesn't have manners whatsoever. They never taught him how to be a good person, whatever. And like, I freaking love how he was like, I guess the couch, like the way how it was designed for him to lay down. And then like when they keep telling him to sit up, he's like all grumpy like a kid. It was so fucking adorable. And I couldn't with him, and then still him like they're talking, and then all of a sudden you turn around, Drax is back laying up, and I mean laying down, and it's like, what the fuck, man? I can't with him, but I love their sense of humor. So now that I got rid of most of the happy part, let's go ahead and talk about the sad part. I do want to say we have to honor Lila, Teefs, and Floor. Like, I could not stop crying to see that. I mean, it would have made sense because I haven't seen them throughout the whole movie, but it does make sense of why they had to die. And it's sad, because they died. They got tortured. They made the best out of it, of course, Rocket too. Um, they were trying to basically be happy where they were, and still having hopes and dreams that they will make it out at the end. And like, it's sad. And then especially that part where we thought Rocket was gonna die too. I didn't want to mention this earlier, but it's all connected right here. But like the fact that we thought Rocket was gonna die, and then he gets to see Lila and everybody else in the afterlife, it was very, very sad. Like, I could not stop crying because he blames himself for all of that. And he was so traumatized of letting somebody else into his life, getting closer to him, because he's scared of what could have happened. And you understand that whenever you watch the first Guardians, where, Rocket is telling Groot, like, no, Groot, don't do this, you'll die, And then after whenever the ship collapsed and Groot was like, gone into pieces, Rocket was holding onto a stake, crying, and then you see Drax like trying to pet Rocket, and you see how tense he got because he wasn't used to being like, he's not used to being confronted on stuff like that, like being telling him it's okay to cry, it's okay to be sad, feeling emotions and all of that. But and again, throughout his childhood, he was used to getting tortured, yelled at, and all of that. And especially losing his best friends. And now that he has this family, it leads to to understand that this movie, well, not this movie, but like in Endgame, once everybody disappeared, him and Nebula literally worked for 5 years trying to get his family back. And now it's all coming around where in this movie, Volume 3, his family is now trying to get him to come back. And it's sad. It's sad and beautiful at the same time. And you also start to understand why Rocket is always trying to steal robotic parts, but it's like specific if you think about it. Like, for example, in the first Guardians of the Guardians movie, he tries to steal somebody's leg, and if you think about it, you feel like that's for Floor, the rabbit, that has the spider legs. And then you also try to see that he's trying to steal Bucky's arm, which is like in a way for Lila's arms because they were robotic. And then in Endgame, you see how like he gives Thor a robotic eye, and he said he stole the eye. But if you think about it, that's also for Teefs, because Teefs, like if you look around his eyes, they look robotic. Like, I feel like he got his eyes taken out, and since he's a seal, they put him in a wheelchair so he can move around. So like a lot of stuff does make sense. And I want to say, even in the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie, when all of them got arrested, they say that whenever they were giving out Rocket's information, they put like his partners. They mentioned both Groot and Lila. So Lila's in there, and it didn't even click to me. You know, I was like, wait, Lila was mentioned in the first volume, and like in the first movie, and I didn't even, like, you know, I didn't understand that. So there's that. But back to what I was saying about, you know, how like Rocket and Nebula working together to in Endgame working together to bring back the family. It also would make sense on why when Rocket was dying and they brought him back, the first thing he asked when he woke up was, "Where's Nebula?" And then you were like if you're watching it, at first you might wonder like, why is he asking for Nebula? But then, you know, later on he's like, oh well, she's over there trying to send a signal, whatever. But I'm like, I don't think that's the case. Like, maybe he noticed it after he asked it. But it's more like they've been through so much trying to, like, they're more closer now compared to everybody else. Because again, they were the only guardians left for 5 years. And then whenever, like, in the movie, obviously, once Nebula hears Rocket's alive, she starts breaking down. I'm like, oh, please stop. You know, I cried, obviously. I'm like, I never thought I would see Nebula cry. I mean, for Rocket of all people, like, you would expect maybe for Gamora, his own sister. No, not even. And wow, like, I swear, like, they have this strong bond, and it's so beautiful. That's why I'm like, damn. And I also cried, obviously, whenever, like, Peter was still trying to conquer Gamora, but it's, like, so sad at the end, you know, where she's, like, telling Peter, like, I bet we were fun. And I'm like, please, no. You know, it's so sad where you lose somebody that you love that doesn't remember anything about it. Well, obviously, because they're from the past, and you can't get that love back, and it's crazy. It's so crazy. Like, you think it'll be a piece of cake. It's not, because, you know, circumstances are much more different. So, you know, but anywho, another thing I was surprised to see was the return of Yondu. I'm not sure if this was actually him, like, making a cameo, or they just inserted him from a previous occasion. But just the fact that we got to see Yondu as a ghost, I was like, yes, another emotional moment. I swear there were so many emotional moments in here. I was like, and let me tell you this one. The other emotional moment that kind of hit home too was the fact that we finally heard Groot speak. Like whenever I first watched this movie again, this was delayed a long time ago. But my theory was that the same thing as James Gunn said, that, you know, when we heard Groot speak, this was a way of saying that we as an audience can finally understand what Groot says, because we've been around him for so long that it's about damn time, you know. And it's like, you know, we're finally a part of that family. And I'm just like, please stop, you know, like, you're making me cry. But I freaked out when he said, I love you guys. And I'm like, I heard it, like, you know, this is like the greatest thing. I swear, James Gunn, like, honestly did left off on a fucking good note. It's so good. But you know, another emotional moment is the fact that the Guardians have officially split, where, you know, everybody's going their own separate ways. And, you know, again, it does make sense that, you know, like for example, Peter is trying to go back to Earth, figure out, you know, like, make ends happen with his grandpa, which, by the way, his grandpa apparently was in volume 2. And specifically when Ego is already taking over every other planet, and, you know, there's that big glob that's starting to grow, and then once it stops growing, it's like right behind on a car that's tilted down, and apparently the person that was driving that car was Peter's grandpa. So anyhow, I was like, that's right, it's like the little details that I love. And so when when Peter goes back in time, or back in time, like he goes back into Earth to make ends meet with his grandpa. We also see um Mantis go back and try to figure out herself too. And then Nebula staying back to take care of Nowhere along with Drax, and Drax being a dad, taking care of those little children's, the ones that go cheep cheep or something like that. I love that. Um it all makes sense, and it's kind of sad because Rocket is over there like, bro, like, we're back together, like, the band's gone, like the band's disbanded and whatnot. But it's like, no, it's time to grow Rocket. And now that he gets to be captain, it's like, it's like, how everything we've been seeing on Marvel, it's time for the new era of superheroes. And with Guardians of the Galaxy, it's more like new members. So, and that's what I love about, at the post credit scene where they're all just hanging out, and now it's like it's him and then King Groot, Kraglin, Cosmo, Adam Warlock, and then I forgot the little girl's name, but she starts to talk normal and she's in there too. Like, they're the new pair of the Guardians, and I'm really glad, but I don't know, I highly doubt that we're gonna get another Guardians movie, because you cannot make another Guardians movie without James Gunn. And that leads me to talk about the end credit scene. So, and I don't know if you guys noticed, if you guys have stayed for the end credits, but at the very end, notice how it said, quote, "The legendary Star-Lord will return." It was white on black. So it was on a white screen and the letters were black instead of the traditional black screen where the letters were white. So rumor has it is that we will see Star-Lord, or Peter Quill, but in a whole alternate universe, and maybe get to see what he's doing solo wise, and it might be even a whole different actor portraying it. Because I know Chris Pratt did say that he doesn't mind playing Peter Quill again, only if it makes sense. So in this case, I don't think they're gonna bring him back again. I feel like they're gonna not reset everything, but it's like, let's drift away from this universe, which I highly doubt is. I don't think it's the universe 616 or whatever, but like, let's like not look at this universe, and now let's look at another universe. And if they do that, I don't think again it's gonna be as successful. That's why I highly doubt we're gonna see like Rocket and the new Guardians being doing more stuff and getting a new Guardians. But I feel like they're gonna not reboot the series, but show a whole different thing. I still feel like it's not gonna be the same, and it's just like, again, James Gunn not being there, it's not gonna go well, but it is what it is. I feel like I do believe that again, James Gunn and the actors as well. I feel that, and not just Batista, but I feel like Chris Pratt is done, Zoe Saldana is done. I don't know about Bradley Cooper, but everybody else, I feel like they're just done with the movie. But this is a good way to end the storyline with the Guardians of the Galaxy. Except, again, I feel like Cosmo and Kraglin should have their own series. But that's because I'm obsessed with Cosmo. But other than that, I really, really did love this movie. I really love talking about it. And like, I could talk more about it, but I am dying as we speak. Like, if you hear me, like, just congested and whatnot, it's really hard to record an episode for an hour long because I run out of breath. But I really did love talking about this movie, and I feel like, again, the way how this was wrapped up was much better than like Endgame, for example, because I feel like when Endgame was over, we were leaving crying, like kind of like heartbroken that Tony died, and then Captain America was like, I guess, sent off to space, whatever, but he grew old and whatnot. It's like we're used to so much trauma, and finally, for once, I mean, yeah, we went through so much trauma with this movie, but the way how they ended it with everybody dancing around, it's like there's no Like, you be happy that the main characters didn't die, you know, because that's the last thing they wanted to do is put more trauma into what we're done. And, like, honestly, at this point, I don't even know how we're surviving with so much trauma. It's like more than 10 years of trauma alone. But I'm really, really happy that I got to watch this movie. And again, like I mentioned, I'm still gonna be able to record the Fast X movie, because that one is like, it was way too much. So stay tuned for that one if you guys want to hear my thoughts. And stay tuned for obviously Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, where that one is gonna be another interesting topic to talk about. But for right now, I will go ahead and sign off. Go ahead and make sure, again, if you're not following me on social media, at It's Lielers on Instagram and Twitter, and at Lielers on TikTok. If you guys want to see what I'm over there tweeting about or like talking about and whatnot. But I will talk to you guys on the next one.